this big issue that Major League Baseball has brought upon themselves by pulling the 2021 All Star Game out of the Atlanta Stadium in Cobb County, Georgia, because of the new voting rights law that the state of Georgia has passed. And it looks like they're going to move it into Denver, Colorado, Coors Stadium in Denver. So a whole lot of things going on there. I know you're a sports fan just because of the time we just spent with you. But what are your thoughts? We're going to get into our thoughts on MLB and some of the other moves. But what are your thoughts on what Commissioner Manfred has done to the sport and basically to his own reputation?
Well, I think it's nuts, but I think it's part of a larger picture. We're going through what I would call a moral panic right now, centered on race. I think a lot of it is ginned up by the media, and a lot of it is ginned up by politicians who live on our separations. They live on our divisions, and they feel if they can divide us, they can build a coalition to win more power for the government, more power for their party. In this case, I think the Democrat Party. And so this moral panic is sweeping through the corporate world, through the media world, and through the political world. And I think that Major League Baseball just fell right in with it. What they did made no sense. They took the game out of a town with fewer African Americans and moved it with more African Americans and moved it to a town with fewer African Americans. We all know that during the pandemic, a lot of the restrictions on voting went by the boards. A lot more opportunity for fraud was out there. And these are just sensible reforms that you have to make sure our elections are unquestioning. It's not a good thing when either half of the country thinks they've been cheated out of their vote. So it is a good thing to make voting more secure. And it's not a question of making it more difficult, to question to require having an ID for things. You have to have an ID to do almost anything in this country. You should have to have an ID to vote. It's absurd. But again, it's part of this move to demonize and silence half the country and to use a sort of idea of moral that somehow we're in a terrible time of racial relations, which simply isn't true. I mean, race relations and race freedom in this country is greater than it's ever been and greater than any place else. One of the things about this is, Eric, I lived out of this country for 7 years. America is the least racist country on earth. And I will say that anytime, anywhere, anybody asks me, America is the least racist country on earth.